And I actually want to reference a quote that you made today. Actually, I kind of prepared these questions and I saw that quote, that tweet, so I kind of screenshotted it to include into this. I'm gonna read it word by word. You said a year ago you tell folks you're in crypto, and they'd flock to you asking which NFT or cryptos they should buy. Today they look at you stunned and ask if you're doing okay. What I want to ask you with that is, like you've said that the Nasdaq's down 30%, S&P down 20%, and you don't think you think we've still got places to go to hit the bottom. Obviously, with crypto, we've gone down a lot. Like the volatility in crypto is absolutely there's just a lot of volatility, and it's good for you if it's on the upside, and I won't say it's bad for you on the downside, but it definitely you feel it a lot more on the downside. So you've been in since 2012. I'm actually very curious. I was going to ask you how you deal with it now, but I want to ask you both actually. Like, how did you deal with that coming from the financial side, where the volatility like this wasn't actually that crazy? How did you cope with it back in those days compared to how you deal with it now? Because you seem very unfazed now from the outside looking in. You seem like, oh, it's just another day. Is that really true? Do you feel anything like?
I have a great poker face. No, I'm kidding. No, I think certainly I made a lot of mistakes investing. I think the challenge with crypto is that it's sort of this liquid venture asset class, which is it's super early stage. Even Bitcoin's in price discovery. This asset class is less than $1 trillion. It's a speck of dust in the world of asset classes, but it is an asset class. And I think increasingly people recognize that. So the thing is, how do you manage? When I first invested in Bitcoin and then Ethereum, like early on, I was like, this is like a 10-year bet, 10 plus year bet, which is kind of like as a venture investor, as an early stage investor, you kind of at least need to believe, hey, it's 10 years, right? And the problem is, what you think is going to happen in 10 years can happen in 3 months. At least the price can suggest that. And so when you underwrite and you model out, okay, well, Bitcoin can converge on gold, or Ethereum can be worth like a big like enterprise software company, then it's very difficult to manage risk because you can exit out of a position. It's liquid, right? You can, if you bought Ethereum, you were holding Ethereum, and you're like, well, wait a minute, like went from 75 cents to $20 in 3 months. What the fuck do I do? I thought it was in my wildest upside case, this would have happened in 5-10 years. And so there's two versions of that. One is like you just kind of play this hodler game long term, and that certainly worked out well for a lot of people, but that certainly worked not so well for other people, right? And so ultimately, like, I'm not trying to give any advice here because it's very different perspective of anyone, right? You can come in at different points in the market. So I am more calm now than I was back then, largely because I made a lot of mistakes. I think the key hallmark or framework that I apply now is constantly re-underwrite my thesis and think in probabilities. And so I'm constantly updating and trying to process information, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I am acting on that information. I'm just updating, I'm just observing. And I know that I have certain tendencies, and so and to make mistakes. And so I'm very much aware of trying to minimize. There's two kinds of errors that you can make. One is an error of process, and the other is an error of outcome. And there's only one that I want to focus on, which is perfecting my process and frameworks and updating them. Because the outcome is random. There's so many things that go into that you can't control. Like, do you believe that you can single-handedly turn the hand and make Bitcoin an $8 trillion asset class? Good luck. But what can you do as an investor to minimize that? I think a lot of the mistakes that people do is and what you're seeing now is when you have a mismatch of assets and liabilities, when you overexpose yourself. I'm not here shilling anyone the super cycle theory or go all in, sell your house like Sailor's doing. I think that's a load of shit. That is probably the worst advice. If I were, I would like, yes, and none of this is financial advice, by the way.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you cannot tell people to do that, because what happens, right? If a position makes you highly uncomfortable, then you're kind of putting yourself. It's a difference between gambling and speculating. We all speculate about the promise of this technology, and I think we all kind of believe that there's a lot of really good things to be excited about here. Do I believe crypto is at least a $10 trillion asset class? Absolutely. Probabilistically, right? I think with a high degree of certainty, this asset class at some point will be greater than 10 trillion. Now, do I go all in and balls to the wall now? No. Because what happens if I'm overexposed and I don't have other streams of income or whatever, then I'm going to be really impatient. And I might have to be a forced seller. You don't want to be a forced seller. Like a gambler uses leverage. And kids, don't do drugs, use leverage, okay? Leverage, very few people know how to use it. And not because it's there, should you be using it? I think it's like, why would you? You should be prepared that in this asset class, you're going to see at least 70, 80% volatility.
Yeah.
You see it in Bitcoin, you're going to see it in altcoins. And so using leverage is just radically reducing the probability of you seeing the ultimate promised land, which is this technology seeing its true potential, but it's going to take time. And so I think the luxury that you want to get to is having the time to think and not act impulsively on anything or because someone tells you to, and just observe stuff. And I think that's in the position that I'm on, fortunately, thankfully now, which is I don't need to do anything other than observe and spend most of my time trying to help founders like Kieran.
Yeah. I agree completely, man. I think the whole over leverage thing, I made a video about this specifically as well, because I think, again, none of this is financial advice, and this is just what I do personally, but just be financially responsible. Like I think we're all so used to seeing like, quick Lambos, and you kind of want those quick things, and like
Lambos are quick, that you can get them quickly is another thing.
Yeah. It's just like, but I think
so I hear.
Yeah, so I hear. But yeah, man, I think that the idea that people just want to get rich super quick is wild, because I think as well, like a lot of people in the crypto space are pretty young, so their perspective of time is kind of is somewhat warped. When I say young, I mean like I can't imagine. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong because you're well more into it. Do you see the majority? What's the kind of demographic you see in crypto? Actually, that's a good question.
I think it skews younger for sure.
It does, yeah. So I think because of that, they're kind of like in that, I want it now quickly kind of phase, or I want to kind of show people that I've made it, and I think that's where a lot of the over leveraging mentality comes from.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think it's really the sense. I think you bring up some really good points, and one of those is really perhaps the most unique insight as an investor is the best part about investing. I think you have to believe that it's very intellectually stimulating, and I think you have to be intellectually curious.
Yes.
And be prepared to fail, hopefully fail fast and not fail catastrophically. But also kind of a big part of, at least for me, has been being like managing your emotional state and being in control, not like being okay and having some self-compassion, understanding that some things fall outside of your control.
Yeah.
Being increasingly more aware with your emotions, in tune with them, okay that some days you're going to feel like shit, and that's fine. That doesn't make you a terrible person. Not because you're sad means that you're depressed. It's a difference between climate. It's a difference between weather and climate.
Yeah.
Weather is temporary. Climate is sort of more permanent based on a particular geography. And I think that's how I kind of describe this idea that it's okay to like feel the range of emotions. Like we're not robots. Even though we may be perceived like ones in the metaverse, but I think investing is a very psychological sport too. And I think the more that you do introspection and you understand kind of what drives you, why are you triggered about certain things, why are you so passionate about other things, then the more, at least for me, this journey of being an investor has been also a big part of it is doing a lot of introspection and being like asking myself hard questions and going to therapy. And I mean, I have two therapists all at once, like at the same time. I like having two therapists because sometimes there are certain things that you can't talk to with your significant other or your friends. I think therapy is one of the best investments that I made, because I know it's like taboo. It's like, oh my God, you must be in deep shit. It's like, absolutely.
Are you okay, man?
That's the thing, right? I think I allow myself to like constantly like kind of zoom out and say, why am I doing these things? Why am I reacting this way? Why am I feeling this way? And it's nice to have someone to like rebound these ideas with. And the reason I have two is, one is male, the other one's female. Male is sort of more rational. I talk more about like business stuff. Female, I speak in a different language, Spanish, which is my another language that I speak, and I communicate my emotions more in that language. And so, and it's a female. And so ultimately, like these are the things that I kind of do, and I have just at my disposal. And it's for me, it's a big part of, I think, my edge.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This video was sponsored by ILLUVIUM themselves. Definitely don't forget to catch the streams at about 8 p.m. on a Friday night EST, and we will see you there. Don't forget to watch this clip right over here to catch out some more Augment clips.